So, Elden Ring is now the most awarded game of all time, a title previously held by The Last of Us Part 2, and people wonder why I don't pay attention to these award shows. Although I will say it's nice to at least have a really great, innovative, gameplay-first video game at the top of that list now, instead of a mechanically outdated Oscar bait thing. Like, on one hand, we have to remember that these things really don't mean much nowadays, but on the other hand, Elden Ring is a genuinely great game that deserves the praise it's been receiving, so the fact that it's getting this much praise is hopefully a nice gesture from the games journalists of the world of, what's to come in the future. Unfortunately, you also have to remember the kind of people that got The Last of Us 2 so much undeserved attention in the first place, and naturally, this news of FromSoft's achievement has caused quite the stir. And look, I get it if you like The Last of Us 2, I really do get it. There's nothing wrong with liking that game, but to suggest that it was even remotely as innovative, unique, or gameplay focused as Elden Ring is just insane. You can totally like The Last of Us 2, but we should at least be in agreement that it didn't deserve the amount of professional praise that it got when gamers were so split on it. Can we at least agree on that? No. Okay. I'm making fun of the fanboys anyways. How? Without the strongest story or graphics this year? Yes, it's almost like gameplay is important when considering if a video game is good. If you don't care about gameplay and are just here for visuals and story, I recommend another visual medium called television. It's also official, all those awards that were given to Elden Ring was given by single virgins who play on PC or Xbox all day. But not me. I play on PlayStation and therefore have lots of sex. This has to be a troll comment. Like, there's no way an actual adult human being would still think like this. Like, this is the kind of stuff that people said when I was in 3rd grade. Like how Mike is gay because he doesn't have an Xbox, or like how Skippy is cool because he has a PS2. It's the dumbest kind of shit talk, and I'm amazed that people are still doing this. Like, get creative with your insults for once in your life, you fucking potato walrus. Don't compare a masterpiece with another generic Souls game. What only thing that makes it special is its difficulty. Good English, you're doing terrific. But the absolute irony of calling Elden Ring generic while coming to bat for the fucking Last of Us 2. Like, Last of Us 2 plays like a game from 2012. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's the reality. And I mean, that was by design. Like, it's a very faithful sequel, gameplay-wise, to a game from the PS3 era. So obviously it's going to play like a game from the PS3 era. Meanwhile, Elden Ring is a unique kind of open world game that's really never been seen before. It takes the skeleton of the Souls series and translates it into an open world to create a completely new kind of game. You don't have to like Elden Ring or Dark Souls, but to sit here and suggest Elden Ring is generic while defending The Last of Us 2 is fucking laughable. And if you can't see that, you're probably not old enough to be on Twitter. Elden Ring don't even have a story, lol. You guys just can't handle a fictional character dying in video game in-game that literally calls The Last of Us.
I'm starting to think we need to intervene on you for your goddamn illiteracy.
Yeah, Charlie, you are getting real dumb.
Come on, all right. See, this is what I'm talking about, illiteracy. What does that word even mean? Come on!
First of all, tell me you've never played a FromSoft game without telling me you've never played a FromSoft game. Second of all, the fact that Elden Ring's story is told in such a subtle way is part of the reason why people fell in love with it. And I mean, the same can be said for most FromSoft games. Believe it or not, overlong cutscenes in between combat arenas isn't the only way to tell a story in a video game. The fact that FromSoft games are so good at weaving story into gameplay is part of the reason why people love them so much. But if all you're used to is story being shoved in your face in between big shooty sections, I'm really not surprised that you feel this way. And I honestly just feel kind of bad for you. Like, expand your horizons, for the love of God. Like, the medium of video games is so unique and so cool. Why are you just content with people telling stories using video games in the most lazy way possible? What innovation has ER brought? Old assets, old CS, old engine. Again, with this argument, how can you possibly say this about Elden Ring while defending The Last of Us 2? There's nothing wrong with the game refining the gameplay of its predecessor, but to imply that Elden Ring doesn't deserve praise because it's similar to Dark Souls, which is frankly barely even true when you actually play both games. But saying all that while defending the praise of The Last of Us 2, which is extremely similar to its predecessor, is just fucking bananas. Like, the mental gymnastics to reach this point are absurd. How is it possible, a game without dialogue and story?
Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless.
People deep throat Elden Ring's all it really is another Souls game, nothing new.
Lighten up. Stop trying so hard.
Yeah, if a game is going to get good reviews, it can't be part of a series. Wait, Dark Souls ripoff. Elden Ring reinvented nothing. It's nearly identical to every other Souls game with some emphasis on some quality of life improvements. But Last of Us 2, that's something special. Okay. In no right mind is a better technical masterpiece than Last of Us or God of War. It's an open world Souls game. And if you've played it, you would know why that's actually so cool. Like, the Souls series has always been kind of a Metroidvania more than anything else. Like Dark Souls isn't quite open world, but it's also not linear. It's kind of that middle ground. The fact that Elden Ring managed to perfectly translate that kind of gameplay into an actual open world format while also reinventing the gameplay into something so unique and fresh is really, really impressive. Dark Souls and Elden Ring are not the same game by any means. That's like saying Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight are the same game because one is basically just an open world version of the other. Like, no, that's dumb. Yes, one of these games was used as the blueprint for the other, but that's the case with almost every game ever made, especially games that are part of an ongoing franchise. And yes, I know Elden Ring isn't part of a franchise, but like it's a FromSoft game, so like, you know what I mean. Elden Ring doesn't have the narrative, the score, the facial animation, the visuals, the sound design that God of War has. I played 5 or 6 hours of Elden Ring and was bored. I really do not understand this. What was that I said earlier about how there's different ways to tell stories and gameplay than just basically tugging you along on a string? That's the whole appeal of FromSoft games. They really push the way that stories can be told with video games as a medium. So again, I really am not surprised you didn't understand this, or that you only got through 5 or 6 hours of Elden Ring. There were a lot of people that were saying stuff like this when Elden Ring came out, and it's just funny because you're just screaming out to the world that you have no interest in the video game medium actually progressing as a form of immersive storytelling. And that may be the most fucking wanky game journalist thing I've ever said in my life, but look at all of the people who are so passionately resistant to storytelling and gaming being anything other than a straight linear path that tells you exactly what to do, and tell me that I'm wrong for that wanky game journalist statement. I think the PlayStation community's reaction to the Elden Ring news has just hammered home that it's never really been about gaming for these people. It really isn't. They insist that The Last of Us 2 is innovative. They insist that The Last of Us 2 is a great video game all around. But the second that it's no longer the top dog, they break down and suddenly it's no longer about innovation. It's no longer about actual gameplay. These people aren't looking for innovation or quality, they're just looking for points. And if you ask me, that's just a really sad way to be a gamer. There are so many amazing games outside your little bubble, but something is keeping you from breaking out of it, and none of you can explain what that something actually is. Because it's not the gameplay in your bubble, it's not the innovation in your bubble, so what's keeping you in there? Story and graphics? If that's all you care about, like, why are you a gamer? Anyways, toodles.